professional troublemaker.
Ah, so you're a provocateur. Your bread and butter is to entice and or irritate people. That should make you a very reliable witness. And, wait a second. Don't I know you?
So because I write about race on my blog, on social media, I write about it very openly, very directly.
There's a word for people who are constantly focused on race, you know.
There are times when I get emails from hurt white people who are basically telling me that they feel like I'm being divisive or they're misunderstood. Basically, it's white fragility in email form.
They criticize you for being divisive or for misinterpreting the things you are holding them to account for. I guess it's much easier to dismiss criticism with a racial pejorative than it is to consider if you're expressing a biased perspective. That's right! You're the blogger who is totally not racist. Wow, it has been a while. I wonder what you'll be talking to us about today.
As my job is to critique the world, the shoddy systems, and the people who refuse to do better.
The people who refuse to do better. Better than what? Better than your opinion of what they should be doing?
As a writer, as a speaker, as a shady Nigerian, I feel like my purpose is to be this cat. I am the person who's looking at other people like, I need you to fix it.
A shady Nigerian. A shady Nigerian that looks at people with a judgmental eye in order to make them work to fix things that she considers wrong. Got it.
I want us to leave this world better than we found it.
All right. Tell me again about the healing power of your accusations of white fragility and how that makes the world a better place.
And how I choose to affect change is by speaking up, by being the first, and by being the domino. For a line of dominoes to fall, one has to fall first, which then leaves the other choiceless to do the same.
Oh, so you're the brave leader, leaving others choiceless but to follow you. Choiceless. For some reason, that thought isn't very attractive to me. Oh, well, that must be my white fragility talking.
And that domino that falls, we're hoping that, okay, the next person that sees this is inspired to be a domino. Being the domino for me looks like speaking up and doing the things that are really difficult, especially when they're needed, with the hope that others will follow suit. And here's the thing. I'm the person who says what you might be thinking, but dare not to say. And a lot of times people think that we're fearless. The people who do this, we're fearless. We're not fearless. We're not unafraid of the consequences or the sacrifices that we have to make by speaking truth to power. What happens is we feel like we have to, because there are too few people in the world willing to be the domino, too few people willing to take that fall. We're not doing it without fear. Now let's talk about fear.
Right. Our speaker is a humble hero, speaking out when others want to, but cannot or will not because others are not snowflakes. I mean, others are not dominoes like our speaker. Our speaker who knows what others want to say, so she says it for them, to serve as a role model. Very brave, very selfless. Now, for the next 6 minutes, and I am not kidding you, for 6 full minutes, our speaker does little else but humble brag about her personal accomplishments, from her education, to jumping out of a plane, to ziplining, to writing her thus far only book, which will become relevant shortly. If you would like to hear her litany of personal awesomeness, a link to the original video is in the description. So I am instead going to jump to the point in the talk that caught my attention and will lead us to the point of my critique.
And there are times when I feel like I have taken very public tumbles and falls. Like a time when I was asked to speak at a conference, and they wanted me to pay my way there. And then I did some research and found out the white men who spoke there got compensated and got their travel paid for. The white women who spoke there got their travel paid for. The black women who spoke there were expected to actually pay to speak there. And I was like, what do I do? And I knew that if I spoke up about this publicly, I could face financial loss. But then I also understood that my silence serves no one. So I fearfully spoke up about it publicly, and other women started coming out to talk about, I too have faced this type of pay inequality. And it started a conversation about discriminatory pay practices that this conference was participating in.
Wow. Now that is a serious allegation. A conference that specifically metered out financial compensation to its guests based on race and gender. It's incredible, really, if it were true. I mean, it is true, isn't it? Our speaker wouldn't be making that up, would she? Well, a reporter at Forbes magazine, who had previously attended that same conference, and is a woman, had her travel paid for, but nothing else. And the men the reporter contacted? Well, they said it was about 50-50 whether they were paid at all for their attendance. And then the Forbes reporter contacted Gary Vaynerchuk. He said he wouldn't do speaking gigs unless he was either paid or had a bulk purchase of his books made by the event. In this case, they bought his books. Quote, bulk book buying is a quite common form of compensation for speakers who are actively promoting a new book. Ajayi has a new book. Did they offer a bulk book buy as part of her invitation? Nope. Yeah, but see, Gary Vaynerchuk is a 4-time New York Times bestseller, a $1 million business owner, an internet personality, and a startup entrepreneur. He doesn't really need the platform or exposure of a conference to sell his book, so his time is worth quite a lot. But our speaker? She only has one book, and is otherwise best known for blogging episode recaps of TV shows like Scandal. Gary Vaynerchuk also warned the Forbes reporter when she contacted him, quote, Vaynerchuk cautioned me to do my homework on this piece. Quote, I spoke for free for the first 3 years of my career. I wasn't a big name, and I did it until I had some momentum, unquote. The Forbes reporter even conceded that point. Quote, that's a reasonable argument. I've been an active public speaker for 7 years and only started getting paid in the last 2, unquote. But what did our speaker have to say? Quote, oh my gosh, I've donated so much of my time. I still do for high schools and other places that don't have money and are important to me. But now I'm at a level that I expect to be compensated, unquote. Expect. Well, I guess what you expect and what you get in life are two different things. Our speaker's book has been out for all of 2 years. How much momentum does she have to expect compensation versus Vaynerchuk, who has 4 books and a business and is an entrepreneur? But I digress. This was an accusation about racism and sexism. Now, our speaker gave this talk in November of 2017. But what did the president of the conference in question say about the accusations in March of 2017? Quote, we told Lovey Ajayi that we didn't have a budget for speakers and don't ever pay speakers. That's factually incorrect. It is about as factually incorrect as saying, it isn't you, it's me. Most people understand you are just trying to be polite, but it would be more honest to say, I just don't love you anymore and feel the need to see other people. When we reply saying we don't have a budget for speakers, the whole unpleasant truth is that we need to prioritize whom we spend our limited budget on, and in this case, it's speakers that are perhaps more relevant for our audience, more sought after. That is far from saying we think Lovey Ajayi isn't worth paying. We're absolutely sure that for the right audience and in the right city, she easily commands her fee. The conclusion is that there is a pay gap for speakers at events, but a logical one based on a lot of factors such as knowledge, success, fame, and most importantly, demand. I hope you understand, based on what I explained here, and from the research you did, that the choice to pay speakers or not is disconnected from gender, race, age, or any other factor except quality and demand. We can also conclude, however, that we should have been more clear in our explanation on why we wouldn't pay Lovey Ajayi. We will try to be more open and honest from now on. It will lead to more bruised egos, but at least we will be less likely to be accused of discriminating. So now, why am I dwelling on all of this? Why be nitpicky on whether someone embellishes the truth of their personal woes and victimization? It really is nothing new. However, in this case, I find it worthwhile to point out our speaker's much-touted personal mantra of ethical discourse, which she affirms in this talk, just as she did in my previous video.
When it's time to say these hard things, I ask myself 3 things. 1, did you mean it? 2, can you defend it? 3, did you say it with love? If the answer is yes to all 3, I say it and let the chips fall.
So, accusing a conference of organizational sexism and racism. Did our speaker mean it? Well, I have no idea. I am not a mind reader. But she did state it without much hesitation in front of a large audience. So, as far as I can tell, she meant it. Can she defend it? Well, not by my reading of the evidence, or by the information gathered by the Forbes reporter, or by the explanation given by the conference president. Did she say it with love? Well, honestly, I can't think of a better way of saying, "I love you," than by calling someone a racist and a sexist. I really can't wait to find out where our speaker goes next, because I am sure that she will say it with meaning, that she will defend it, and that she will always say it with love. As always, thank you for watching.